People all over the world are waiting overnight at stores, queuing through the streets and paying way above retail price on the secondary market. The Moonswatch craze is very real. But just how good is the Moonswatch? Today we compare the Moonswatch with a proper watch. Okay, so I picked up my Moonswatch around 2 months ago, and now, well, although it does look good, it's majorly lacking in the quality department. The cheap construction and quartz movement has no place on a $250 watch. This is my Yema Rallygraf, a fully spec'd out chronograph by a big brand that is a lot more traditional in its materials used. Today they'll be going head to head in an attempt to find out just how bad the Moonswatch is when it comes to value for money. So we have 15 rounds of comparison today, everything from the crystal to the movement. Whoever wins each round will get 1 point, and at the end, hopefully, we will have a definitive winner. This is Moonswatch versus proper watch. Let's go. So the most important piece of a wristwatch, the dial. On the Moonswatch we see 3 subdials that are slightly concaved, which adds some depth. We see great contrast with the black hour markers and the rail track around the perimeter. The hands are white but filled with black paint to give contrast to the dial. Overall, the colours work well, I do have to admit. The Moonswatch is a beautiful model. In comparison with the Rallygraf, we have a black and white colour scheme, classic panda dial. Just 2 subdials on this piece with the shapes very unique, inspired by vintage rally car speedometers. The hands are filled with lume, same with the hour markers. The rally subdials are set back like a sandwich dial, giving the dial plenty of depth. I do enjoy the aesthetics of the Yema Rallygraf. I love a classic black and white chrono. However, the point for the dial will go to the Moonswatch, simply because I think it has more detail. Let's move slightly outwards and have a look at the bezel. The Moonswatch simply has a printed bezel. I have to say, it is printed rather well, but without a doubt, the paint will chip off over time. With the Rallygraf, we have a classic aluminium bezel, giving off a shiny look. The bezel is also slightly angled, giving it a more premium look. Aluminium bezels do scratch and fade over time. However, collectors love these types of bezels. They tend to age very well and look better over time. This point is easy, it goes to the Rallygraf 1-1. Next up we have the crystal. On the Moonswatch we have a piece of acrylic which is domed. Of course, the huge downside of acrylic is that it scratches very easily. It is also the cheapest of all the types of crystals. On the Rallygraf we have a domed piece of mineral. Mineral is much tougher than acrylic, however it does pick up fingerprints much easier. Typically a fresh piece of acrylic without any scratches looks the best of all the crystals. They give off a vintage hue that reminds us of classic watches. So although the Rallygraf is using a more expensive, harder crystal, I have to give this point to the Moonswatch. I much prefer acrylic crystal to mineral, simply because scratches can easily be buffed out with a bit of polywatch, whereas mineral crystal scratches last forever, unless you replace the full glass. Point to the Moonswatch. Now in terms of case shape and case size, this of course is a preference thing. The Moonswatch is 42mm in diameter, whereas the Rallygraf is 39mm. Both actually have a very similar lug to lug, so they actually wear almost identical. For me, I always enjoy a smaller case diameter. The Moonswatch does have the signature Speedmaster folded lugs though, which adds some detail, but it doesn't look as good when it's done in plastic. The point here goes to the Yema. The case for me is much more balanced, whereas the Moonswatch does look a little bit dial heavy. Now let's flip over the watches and take a look at the case backs. The Moonswatch simply has a battery hatch. On this version, printed to look like the planet Pluto. I do like this on quartz watches, it makes it very easy for a battery change. On the Yema we see a more traditional screw down case back with the Yema logo beautifully embossed. If we're simply going off looks here, then the Yema Rallygraf has to win. Now let's get the obvious out of the way. The Moonswatch is made of bioceramic, which is apparently a special compound of ceramic and plastic. However, it feels, looks and wears exactly like a plastic watch. I don't think that this special material offers anything in the way of more durability either. It's lightweight, which some may see as a bonus. The Rallygraf is made of full stainless steel though, everything from the crown to the case. This is without a doubt going to outlive the Moonswatch when it comes to durability. The point here has to go to the Yema Rallygraf. Now the whole point of a watch case is protection. So in terms of water resistance, what are we looking at? Well, the Moonswatch comes in with a 30-meter rating, meaning the watch can withstand some splashing when it comes to washing your hands or if you get caught in the rain. But I certainly wouldn't be submerging this one underwater though. However, the Yema comes with a top tier 100 meters water resistance. This means it's fully waterproof. You can take it in the shower, in the pool, and even do some snorkeling with it on your wrist. Of course, this point is easy, it goes to the Yema. Inside the watches is where it starts to get interesting. Powering the Moonswatch, we have the ETA G10212. This movement has a 60-minute and 10th per second chronograph timer. Inside the Rallygraf, we have the Seiko VK63 Mecha Quartz movement. This combines the reliability and accuracy of quartz with a mechanical component that allows for a smooth sweep of the chronograph hand. We have a 60-minute chronograph dial on the left and a 24-hour indicator on the right. We also see a date window at the 6 o'clock, something that the Moonswatch does not have. And both watches have a 3-year battery life. For me, the Yema Rallygraf has the more premium movement. The mechanical aspect of the VK63 allows the watch to feel like a proper mechanical chronograph, and for that reason the point here has to go to the Rallygraf. Now, functionality. The Moonswatch has a ghost position when you pull out the crown to the first click. This is where a date function would have been if Swatch decided to put one on the dial. However, they removed the date but still kept the click there. This is without a doubt a cost-cutting technique, not usually done by big brands. The pushes are nice and snappy on the Moonswatch though. For the Rallygraf, everything works as it should. The first position changes the date and the second changes the time. The benefit of the Mecha Quartz movement is that the pushes feel like a mechanical chronograph. You get a lovely snap when you engage and reset the chrono. The hands also spring back into place rather than the slow reset that you get on the Moonswatch. The Rallygraf wins on this one too. Next, legibility of a watch is important. The Moonswatch is fairly legible, especially the main handset. However, the chronograph subdials do have black hands which are hard to see at a glance. The Rallygraf's main hands are slightly less legible than the Moonswatch, but the subdials are definitely easier to read. Also, considering the Rallygraf doesn't have a running seconds, this point will have to go to the Moonswatch. I think that the Yema does have a more premium look to it, but unfortunately it pays the price for that in terms of legibility. Could the Moonswatch be on a comeback? Now, wearing experience. I feel both watches are very similar in how they are worn. The Moonswatch is lightweight and offers a pleasant experience. The size sits well on wrist and should work on almost any size. The Yema being made of steel, of course, heavier, but it does remind you that you have a proper watch on wrist and not just a piece of plastic. The angular lugs of the Yema hug the wrist so much more than the Moonswatch, which can often feel a little bit flat, sometimes overhanging the edges of the wrist. This one is very close, but just for how lightweight the Moonswatch is, it gets the point. When we talk about quality, this is where there's only one clear winner. The Moonswatch has a plastic case, plastic crystal, and normal quartz movement. There is no real finishing to the Moonswatch. Everything is printed and one basic colour. With the Yema, we have some points of interest. We have a fully polished case, an aluminium bezel, polished hands and indices, the sandwich dial and the beautiful case back. The Yema Rallygraf is simply a higher quality watch and it's not even close. Point Yema. Durability is important when it comes to watches. You don't want your purchase to break after just a few months of owning it. Ideally, you want it to last a lifetime. Unfortunately for the Moonswatch, being made of full plastic and a lower water resistance, if you was to wear this watch every day, it would break very quickly and it would be worthless. However, with the Rallygraf, because it's made of full steel with 100 meters of water resistance, you could happily wear it every single day and it will keep on ticking. An easy point for the Rallygraf. Beauty, of course, is in the eye of the beholder, so this one's going to be hard to pick. I, of course, like the look of both of these chronographs, that's why I bought them. If you like a more traditional chronograph, then of course the Yema wins. If you like something more flamboyant and contemporary, then the Moonswatch has the edge. As an overall design, I think the Rallygraf is more coherent, whereas the Moonswatch is a bit more of a fashion statement. Simply because of how photogenic the Moonswatch is, I'll be awarding it the point on this one. Finally, we have value. The Moonswatch retails for around $250 and the Rallygraf around $330. You simply get more watch for the money with the Rallygraf. Better movement, better specs, higher level of quality. The Yema Rallygraf is without a doubt better value for money. Now, I could have done so many more rounds talking about the supplied strap, packaging, loom and so on. However, the Rallygraf just wins them all. So the final scores are Moonswatch 5, Rallygraf 10. So if I've convinced you not to buy a Moonswatch, make sure you check out my video here on the 5 best Moonswatch alternatives.